up for it. But I feel like there's this sentiment uh, of like, as a viewer, I feel like people are much more comfortable with treating things that they view and engage with and consume, even if it's very small independent art projects, as just content, and that makes people comfortable holding, smaller projects to the same standards that they would hold, like, I don't know, a big animation studio, say, to. And yeah, I definitely feel like the most that I've ever been uh, irritated with people's presumptions about what they can tell me to do has been when people have told me that I need to get on with working on the next piece of the project, or when I've just released a big project and people are already saying what's next. It's very disheartening, and working on the animations takes a lot out of me, emotionally and practically, because you gotta it takes a long time to animate. um not a quick process. So, when I see those comments of, "Oh, can't wait to see the next one," it's like, all right, like, go back and watch the one that I just finished again. Like, you're not taking enough time with this. This was, more than half a year of my life. Anyways, that's enough of my complaining. I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, back when David Lynch died, people were reminiscing about a lot of his work, which I'm still woefully unfamiliar with, and his style of storytelling, which often involves dreamlike logic and letting events happen without stopping to explain what any of it means. I know his name is often misused to describe anything surreal, but is there any element or specific work of his that did inspire your creative process in a meaningful way? I, excellent question. And fortunately, I am familiar with at least a bit of Mr. Lynch's work. Me and my boyfriend watched the first season of Twin Peaks, and have been meaning to watch the second season because I've heard that it really picks up in the second season. And not to say I didn't enjoy the first season. It was a great experience. I honestly quite loved it. As for the question, I feel like the most direct way that I see, that sort of mentality coming through with the animations is just like what you mentioned, a sort of, very direct causal logic rather than a real life based logic. And I feel like that's always appealed to me more, where it's like, in a story you can create a situation where somebody looks up and they see, say, a castle in the sky, to pull a random example, and this person then decides that they need to craft wings so they can go up to the castle in the sky. And that wouldn't work in reality. That is not a practical thing that you can do. However, the line of reasoning makes sense. It coheres, right? And I feel like that's always been very appealing to me, and it's cool to see that pulled out in these very, I feel a great deal of reverence towards these older, very, like, sort of experimental for the time works. And I think that there's a level of confidence in just eschewing any other form of logic except for the logic of the story, and saying this is where we need to go, and taking it in that direction. I feel like that is a massive inspiration, and it feels like you can almost use that as a cudgel to, show people this element doesn't matter. Pay more attention to the thing that I'm showing you here. So I feel like that's the most I can say on that. I just am not familiar enough with Lynch's other works to really say too much more. But excellent question, and I will, hopefully, I don't know, in a future call at some time, have watched the subsequent season and let you know my thoughts. I'm trying to sporadically keep a little bit up with the chat, which I think is a Sisyphean task, but uh, yeah, I know that my voice tends to sound deeper in the videos, because the only time that I really talk out loud is when I'm doing the Covenant voiceovers, and those are assisted by, my family has an ancient landline from like the 80s or 90s, that I use to make those recordings. And then I also slow the recordings down by 90% because it gives the voice a little bit more scratchiness with the already scratchy old phone audio. And I just like the way that it sounds. So yeah, I can see why you might be hearing me for the first time and think, wow, wow, this guy's voice is about 110% faster than or I guess 10% faster. I'm thinking in Premiere Pro audio speed terms. Anyways, next question. Another question. In the past, you've referred to the end of this story as a bookend, and I think I've already been doing that throughout the call. And Covenant's lesson touches on the idea of an end and a beginning as being one and the same. The final words of the series being "Take care" is obviously intended to call the beginning to mind as well, without asking for the exact meaning behind your works. Would you say the ending of Sequence '05 is intended to lead into Take Care narratively? Well, I first off, excellent question. I definitely feel like, the concept of uh, a cyclical set of events is something that I've really tried to bake into some of the emotional beats. I don't know. It's something that's been in my mind a lot throughout working on this project, and I feel like it really sort of solidified as something that I cared about and wanted to uh, lean into a lot with Zero. With the with just all of the planning that went into uh, Zero. With the Mon Amour, and the forwards backwards chapter setup there. I feel like that was the first point where I began to really try to dig further into what that meant, because obviously the cyclical. Uh, Give me a second to collect my thoughts. The theme of repeating cycles has sort of been something that I've been touching on since, like, at least the second Antlers guy video, I would say. But it just really kept being something that kept coming up and kept feeling important and kept feeling like something that needed to be addressed in a very thought out way, or else I'd be leaving a lot out on the table. So while I don't know if I would say, like, yes, the events of this whole series are meant to literally spiral into the very beginning. I wouldn't fault somebody for coming away with that conclusion, and I definitely wouldn't fault somebody for at least taking some time to think on think about circles. You know what? Take some time to think about circles. I think you'll have a lovely time with that. Next question. Uh, tu- 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 tu. We have okay. This one says two more questions. I think this one doesn't seem so much like a question and more just like a thing that somebody wanted to say, but that's fine. It says, picture this: you've just finished filming sequence '05. Okay, I'm forming a mental image. Um, After you finish the last scene, you go to all of the characters that acted in this video and say, "So, guys, let's call it a day. Thank you so much for acting in this series. This is true Boisvert, the friends we made along the way." Again, I'm not quite sure that's a question, but that's a nice image. I wish that had happened. I would have loved to have talked with those guys after the great work they put in. We're going to move to the next question. Oh, and then this question ends by saying, and then you give $100 to each one of them. By them, I presume you mean the actors. Yes, that you've got it down to the T. That's how that would happen. And yes, that would be a wrap. Um, oh, which leads into your next question, which is, what would they buy with this money? If I gave $100 to each of them, what would they buy? Okay, let's do a quick run through. Let's start off with our friend, the White Antlers gentleman. Uh, he would probably buy the coat that he started wearing halfway through. Oh, I'm seeing somebody ask how you pronounce Boisvert. You pronounce it Boisvert. So there you go. Yeah, Antlers gentleman would purchase the coat that he wore. That one's pretty easy. Room, I keep thinking like a spinning top. I feel like that would be very appropriate, and I think he'd get a lot out of that. Uh, Dog guy would. That's an interesting question because I want to say he'd buy a knife, but he already has a knife. However, I don't think he'd be very money smart. I think gambling would be a pretty likely answer. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at knife or gambling. I just don't think he would be great with money. For him, money's there and then money's not. It's like that. Who else are we not talking about? Oh, Covenant. Honestly, I feel like Covenant would be the most like my actual respond. What my actual response would be, he would almost certainly buy pens and paper. I really like. If you're looking for a good pen for drawing and writing, the I have it right with me right now. It is a Pilot G207. I love these things. Fountain pens are great too, but Pilot G207s just don't smudge as much and are easier to control. Yeah, so Covenant would definitely buy paper and pens. Uh, who am I still missing? I feel like there's some early people that I'm forgetting. Oh, the complex ghost. Gosh, that is a good question. Maybe like an old iPod or preservatives. I feel like those would both be uh very appealing to him. Um, oh yes, the angels. Thank you. White gross mouth angel would buy. I think tickets to a concert. I've always gotten that impression. I feel like he'd be a bit of a concert goer. Um, Glove Angel would buy. It would be so corny to say nail clippers. Nail clippers is what I immediately come to. Perhaps he would buy a chess set. Actually, I feel like that would be very appropriate. He would buy a chess set. Um, Gosh, okay. I'll turn to chat. Is there anybody that I'm forgetting here? Registered channel. Can we? Oh, Knight. Thank you, Knight. Very helpful. Knight would absolutely buy like protein powder or one of those like scammy Sigma male. Oh, anti-aging project product. I like that. I like the way that you're thinking. Oh yeah, a spike head room looking guy. What would he get? Honestly, maybe puppet making materials, but again, that's kind of like a cop out. Maybe rebar. Yeah, I'm feeling a strong rebar here. Oh, what would horse buy? Horse would buy grain. I'm feeling solvent, maybe. Yes, every name that I'm saying here is the canon name. I feel like people have gotten a lot of confusion with the names. Everything that I'm saying here is completely canon. This is how I refer to them whenever I'm talking about them. Oh, and then finally there's the painless puppet uh, from Painless. What would he want? Honestly, that he would not buy anything. He would pocket the 100. That would never be spent. All right, great question. Thank you. That was a lot of fun. Let's see. We're going to go to the next one. Questions for the Q&A, and this is a sequence of three. The first one being, can you do a tier? Oh, this one's fun. I've set up something for this one. Question is, can you do a tier list, uh, ranking every video on how much you like them? I have set up a little tier list in Photoshop that I will use right now. Let me see if I can get streaming to work. As I said, this is a old ass Mac. So I'm hoping against hope that we can do some streaming here. Share my screen. Uh, Share Photoshop. Okay. Will somebody please confirm that Photoshop is up and seeable right now? Okay. Stream is here. We're looking good. I see it. Okay, good. Okay, so we have right here the Boisvert project tier list of joy and salience. And so I don't just want to go by like this is the best video, obviously, because I don't think that would be fair for me to try to make that assessment. However, I'm going to assess them by how relevant they felt at the time and how much I still have a very soft spot in my heart for them to this day, or how important they felt. Wait, can you not see it? Oh,
There is a
okay.
limit in the stream, by the way.
Oh,
Just making.
There's a limit. Oh, well, this is tragic. Okay. Stream limit. Okay, we're gonna solve this on the fly. Is there a way to get around this and to show everybody the stream of my little Photoshop here? Or are we just SOL, shit out of luck? Let's see. Second in, I'm oh, second account. We would need another account here. Oh boy, that is sad. Let's see. Never ran into a stream limit. Is it literally just because there's too many people here? Could stream to
Someone
YouTube? Yeah,
someone
yeah.
suggested you could make a Discord stage, which
A
helps.
Discord stage.
You could
Oh
also
boy.
do
Okay.
screenshots.
Yeah. I
Just
don't
like,
know what a
is
Discord.
that?
What on earth is a Discord stage? Yeah, there are a lot of people in the VC.
Just, just
Um,
take, just take screenshots.
okay, okay. You know what? Thank you, Aisha. I appreciate I
No problem.
appreciate the level-headed advice. I think we'll do a screenshot. Uh, for what it's worth, I will be placing them as I go so that I can sort of keep this in mind. However, that is a shame. I'm sorry to the Boisvert fandom, such as it is, that we cannot do a live stream of the tier list. So let me turn off my screen share. Very sad. We'll stop streaming that. Okay. In that case, we're gonna run through this a bit quicker, which is good because we still have quite a few questions to go. Starting with Take Care, and just so you can picture it, imagine me looking at Take Care right now and the little tier list above that. So just picture that in your head. Take Care, I think I'm gonna end up giving an A. I feel like it was a very important video for me at the time. I remember feeling pretty creatively stuck and not interacting with people a lot. I feel like it was a pretty positive thing. I enjoyed it. Maybe I'd give it like a B plus if I went that specific, but I'm gonna keep it sort of just to the whole letters. So we're going from S to D here, and yeah, there's a lot that I'd change. I feel like there's you can see the like aspect ratio jittering because I didn't size all the cards correctly. But obviously people really liked it, and I feel like without it I wouldn't be able to do what I did, what I've done up until this point. So obviously it has a special place in my heart. Um, and I'm glad that people love it. That's great. So Take Care gets an A. Tenant, uh, that's a harder one. I feel like I'm gonna give Tenant a B. There were a lot of good ideas there that I really enjoyed working on, and that's gonna be a big uh, uh, sticking point for me for a lot of these ratings. It needs for these to be rated highly, they need to have been enjoyable to work on. And there were times where I worked on videos and it was just not fun at all. There were times I was working on videos and it felt like I was discovering a whole new like medium that felt rewarding to me. And Tenet was enjoyable. It was a cool change of pace. A little fun fact about Tenet, and I think all the way up until Burning.mp4, I did all of those animations in a free browser software called Piskel that you just like draw in the edits and can like paste in images frame by frame, which is a real pain in the ass to work with, but it was fun at the time. But it definitely does lower the rating of all these because working with Piskel is not fun. We worked in Piskel and then put it all into Premiere Pro, and that was all the editing we did. Next one is They Don't Know. I'm a big fan of They Don't Know. It gets points marked for being like kind of very directly a meme, which I feel like is something that I've tried to lean away from really hard since then. But that said, I feel like it coheres very well as like a little moment. I had a lot of fun working on it. Uh, I was actually working on it during a family vacation because that was the only time that I had time off from my college work. So I have some fond memories of sitting in a little like hotel and just editing that together. I think Take Care gets a pretty easy A. That was a lot of fun. People liked it a lot. Burning.mp4, it was fun. Again, like all of these early ones were pretty explicitly enjoyable, but I just don't feel like I think about it as much as Take Care. And while I really loved working on the scene where he sits up in the bed and the bed's realistic, but everything's drawn, that is probably not enough to bring it out of B. So it's getting a solid B here. Burning MP4. B for burning. All right, everybody just remember B for burning. And next we have continue, which will not be getting a C. I'll just I'll spoil that. Continue is going to get an S. I loved working on continue. Continue just felt ape shit all the way through, and I have a very fond memory of I worked on continue for a college course that I was taking, and during the critique I got to show it to everyone, and it was just fun seeing people were really surprised. It sort of blew them away, which felt great and gave me a lot of confidence for future animation work. So yeah, a lot of fun with continue. I have a massive soft spot for the dog head character guy. Uh, and obviously this was his introduction. So yeah, just very, very fond memories of Dear Continue. Next up we have I Met a Beautiful Angel, which was a fun one to work on. I really remember enjoying this quite a bit as well. I think it's the first animation that I still have all the raw assets from, because I did not save any of the assets that I is Doghead a furry? Yep, yeah, he is. Uh, 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 I I just didn't save any assets from any of the videos that I made up until Beautiful Angel, and I really enjoyed working on it. So that's gonna get an A. I loved working on that one. Next up, we are looking at uh, this is the complex. Oh, I had a lot of fun working on this one. It was partially inspired by another surrealist animation that I saw on Reddit like 3 years ago. Um, and it was just a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of. It's harder to think back to the earlier ones and remember what was going on at the time, but um, I just remember enjoying it. I remember this was like, I think it was right before I got my driver's license, or shortly before I got my driver's license, because I drove out with my mom to the parking lot that I filmed a lot of that in at the time, which is a very funny memory. And she had like other places to go at the time, so she wasn't just posted up in the car while I was doing my thing. I think Complex is gonna get it's either an A or a B. Uh, Honestly, I'll give it an A. And you know, God forgive me if I end up giving a lot of these A's. I feel like A is going to be popular, but we'll make it work. Let's see. Um, again, I'm anytime that I pause, it's just me quick checking on on what's going on with the chat. Why do I mean it is a pretty gross mouth. Would you propose a different canon name? We can call him some shit like Devin if you want. He can be Devin if you guys don't like me calling him that. Anyways, all right, yeah, Devin. Okay, we're locking that in. If there's a wiki that people still update, give it Devin. Uh, Next up, we have Entirely Beloved. I think this one's a pretty clear S tier for me. This one felt very important. I loved working on it. Room, I think, probably has the most special place in my heart of special places in my heart that these little guys can occupy. Uh, you guys will be seeing more of Room in the future, and I don't know in what situations, but that is a character that I love and that I feel very close to, and I don't feel like I can just let him go. There will at least be like Room illustrations sometime in the future. Yes, more Room. 1 million years Room Dynasty. And then after, well, okay, do I have anything else to say about Entirely Beloved? No. I loved it. I really enjoyed filming it. I feel like that method of like rotoscoping spaces has been very important to me ever since. Uh, and yeah, I just feel great about that one. Consequences is another one that I might also have to give an S to, just because I love the opening shot where he's in the room that's like barreling downwards with the. Okay, here's a fun little fact about the production for Consequences. So the filming of that room was done with two of my friends at the time came over, and one of them was the character that you see in the doorway, and one of them was filming me in the chair. And then we got the footage, and then I removed all of the. I would love it if you got a Consequences tattoo as comp. Feel free to send me a picture of that if that ends up manifesting. Excellent choice. Um, and so we got the footage of me in the room, and then I got footage of one of those gross wooden light posts, just kind of filming running down the light post, and then I used that as that like really quick rushing upwards texture that is happening in the room, and that I don't know. I just had so much fun working on that. However, I think I'm gonna end up giving Consequences an A. It was a lot of fun to work on, but I just think the bar for S tier is very high. Prelude, Angel's Warning. This is going to be our first C, and I don't think it's a particularly difficult C. Maybe even a D. I don't hate Angel's Warning. I'm fine with it. And all this is being said with the like. I enjoyed working on all these to some extent. But Prelude, I remember being kind of for a class, and I hated the professor for that class, and also uh, it was done in a much higher resolution because I did it using a different program. If anybody's heard of Toon Boom, I used Toon Boom Harmony to create Prelude, which sucked. I hate working with Toon Boom Harmony. And I actually used Toon Boom for both zoning ordinance, ashes, and narrowing, I think, and maybe also a love letter. I think also a love letter, maybe. But that was a miserable software to work with. I hate Toon Boom. And also people in the comments of Prelude clowned on me for using a bone snapping sound effect that was like a meme at the time, which I didn't like, I guess. So that's also lowering its rating. Give me a second, I'm getting a drink. All right, so yeah, Prelude, not a huge fan of it. I just feel like it kind of fell flat, especially when compared to the next one, Zoning Ordinance, which is going to be higher up there, of course. Um, Zoning Ordinance, obviously, very special place uh, in my in my little dreamy heart. Uh, I remember, just taking it like months and months and months working on this, and getting more and more excited the more time passed. The one downside was I did end up getting like kind of paranoid at the end. I was struck by thoughts of like, what if I get hit by a car and don't get to release this? And so for like the last 2 weeks, I would always have the most recent iteration of zoning ordinance on a flash drive that I carried around with me or had at my desk because I was just really concerned I would die and would get to release zoning ordinance. And I don't know. I feel like zoning ordinance just was not made at the most healthy point in my life, which maybe docks it a few points, but I love it. I don't know. It's getting an S. I really like the thumbnail too. That's gonna be an S. We have ashes.mp4. I was fine with ashes. I'm gonna give that a pretty quick B. I liked the creature design. I liked wrapping around to antlers guy. He didn't get enough love. Narrowing, I think that's gonna be a D, maybe. This might be the one of the only Ds. I don't hate it. Actually, you know what? If Prelude gets a C, Narrowing gets a C. I liked working on the creature for that one. I liked working on the big ropes that were floating around. That was a ton of fun. I got the ropes that came off the creature by ripping up like 7 old black t-shirts, tying them all together into ropes, filming me wiggling them around in slow motion, and then flipping them upside down so they'd have that like floating look, uh, which is I don't know. That was a lot of fun to work on. I enjoyed that. Uh, So yeah, C, pretty easy C. Next one is a love letter, which I think a love letter probably gets S. I again, I enjoyed working on that a lot. That one had a similar uh, progression though, where again by the end I was keeping a flash drive on me, which didn't feel the best. But I feel like this was one of the first ones that really felt like I was able to bring everything that I had learned to bear in a way that felt really fun and relevant and was enjoyable to work on. So that's getting an S. www.blind. Uh, I that yeah, you're a blind fan. I'm a huge blind fan too. I feel like that was just such a lovely point in our lives, despite extenuating difficulties. I think S. I like it a lot. I think S. Okay. Mr. Eel has given me the nod of assent for the S. So www.blind is getting an S, and I'm going to quick edit this Photoshop document to widen it off to the side a little bit in case we have a lot of S's that we need to accommodate for, or A's, or hell, who knows, a bunch of D's. Maybe I hated all the sequences and I just haven't realized it yet. There we go. That's a little bit more space. Okay, checking back on the chat. How are we doing in here? Okay. Okay. Properly narrative story. Yeah, I would say that overall Boisvert is a distinct narrative in which things do happen. I'm confident telling you that much. Uh, Next on the tier list, however, we have Tether. I'm proud of you. This is another one that, just like Blind, I feel like has is just very significant to me, and the filming for this one was really enjoyable. If you recall, it was Covenant in that little box room, and I got the lighting for that by creating the box, lining it with tape, and then putting it in a swiveling office chair. And then when the light would like slowly enter into the room, that was me turning the chair. And then I had my iPhone camera attached to 3 rulers that were zip tied to the arms of the chair so that the camera would always be held steadily and in an exact relation to the room. And so I don't know, that was just a ton of fun to film. So I think that's a pretty easy S. Angels Fall, really, again, I enjoyed filming that. I remember people in the comments giving me flack for running around shirtless in a parking garage, which was essentially what I had to do. That is true. Um, but for what it's worth, there was only like another group of kids, I think, getting high one level beneath us, so nobody really cared what we were up to. This one was a lot of fun, and I liked getting to do more with Covenant. Oh, I got to use cool footage of Scrumbus, my little miniature dachshund with his mouth open for that last dog head guy scene, which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It was a fine video. I'm giving it a B. I liked it quite a bit. Painless, I think, is getting a C. Again, this was one that I liked a lot. I had a lot of fun working on it. This was, I believe, my first one that I did in After Effects. Uh, and yes, his true God-given name is Luigi, but uh, his very oriented name is Scrumbus. Um, yeah, Painless, a lot of fun. Uh, I feel like our creatively the vision for it was a little bit all over the place, but I still feel like it came out fine. I just don't have a ton to say about it. I liked it. It was enjoyable. Again, keep in mind a C is still a video that I'm happy with. In that case, honestly, you know what? We're putting Prelude, Angel's Warning in D. Again, nothing against it. It's fine. It's just not as good as these other two. At least IMO, or not as enjoyable to make. Yes, that is Scrumbus. Scrumbus is like, I believe, the one server sticker that we have. Question that I always had is how he did the voices for the videos. I will talk about the voices in a bit. That is a question that I'm fine with answering. Anyways, next up we have Zero, and I Zero's a toughie. I think I'm giving 0 an A. It was a lot of work, and I'm very happy with how it came out. But when I was working on it, I was similarly in a really difficult point in my life that made it hard to constructively enjoy or engage with the project during the last few weeks of working on it. But that said, again, put a lot into that project. It was enjoyable to work on, and I feel like there was a lot on the table with that one, especially with the Saint. Yes, I'm a big fan of the Saint. Uh, then we have Tell Them. I'm giving Tell Them a C or a D because while it was a lot of fun to work with Kuma's a great guy, or I believe he goes by Eldritch now. Eldritch is a great guy. And it was fun working on the costuming for that. I remember the creature that's like messing around in that white plane of existence was I set up like a sheet and a little chomping head that I could control. It was based off of the design of the Marie Louise, which is a oh gosh, I'm sorry, I cannot remember exactly where it originated, but it is a Scandinavian winter character that travels from door to door, sort of doing like rap battles or yes, South Wales. Thank you, Desmond. Uh, uh, that travels around like rap battling people to try to get into their house. And if you can like out rap battle the like weird horse skull on a stick, you don't have to give it like the contents of your pantry or beer. But if you lose, then they get to like steal all your shit. Which honestly, like bro, we should do like the Marie Louise this winter. Think of how fun it'd be to go to people's houses and like a little horse skull thing.
I'm thinking about it.
I feel like we should do that. That'd be fun. Well, we could go to like friends' houses, maybe. It could be fun. Okay, regardless, this video is getting a C. I feel like I'm happy with how it came out, but again, I just don't like working with music videos, and I feel like sort of like with They Don't Know, it sort of I felt at least that it took away a little bit from the overall story and what I was actually trying to do. But that's fine. It was a lot of fun. Next one is Night, and Night is getting at least a B. I was really happy with how Night turned out, and I remember this was another one that I partially did it for a college course. It was a stop motion college course, and while getting the footage was really difficult because they had us use these like high quality Canon cameras that I didn't like to use, so I had to crunch all of the resolution down to like what I could actually work with. Yeah, that's a great question, Befall. I did show the videos to my class, and for those of you who've posted questions in this chat but haven't gotten responded to, I'm mostly handling the patron questions first, and then if I have time at the end of the call, which I'm optimistic, I should, then whoever posts questions in the chat, I will answer those. So please, if you have questions, I would encourage you to probably wait until the end of the patron questions, and I will answer those directly as time allows. So sorry to anybody who I haven't seen your questions yet. That said, Night, I had a ton of fun with this. I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like visually is a different direction for me. It's getting a strong A, honestly, and I could, you know, yeah, strong A. I'll leave it there. I really liked Night, and I like the character of Night. Although I know that in the wake of Sequence 05, I've seen some people engaging in some Night slander, which is fine. Like that's it's their emotional prerogative. It's appropriate. Uh, uh, Next up we have this is a long title. I have done everything for his sake. He is crying and the door is open. Well, I liked that I got to revisit Antlers Guy, and I feel like Aisha has just done some really phenomenal audio work on this one, which gives it a lot of points uh, in my book. Um, that said, you know, I just was having a really hard time while I was working on this. I remember this was a very like a sort of like depressive time, and I feel like that cramped my actual enjoyment of the project. That said, again, a lot of love for this project. If I truly didn't like anything on here, I wouldn't have released it. Uh, and so I feel like it's important to me. Uh, in a very direct way. So it's getting a strong B. We're gonna give this guy a strong B. Uh, and finally, that takes us to the sequences. We've been cruising. Uh, all right, sequence 01. Now I'll have to think a bit carefully here because I sometimes get the sequences confused. Sequence 01 is when we reintroduce the puppet. He's in the big castle area. Oh yeah, okay. So this one, much like with Zero, was a lot of Blender work, which is not my forte, but was a lot of fun to play around with. You know, I feel like the early sequences have a lot that I like and a lot that I don't like. I like the Blender. I thought that I was, there's a lot of new stuff being tried, but I honestly feel like the character design on Puppet and Horse could have been a bit tighter, and that always bugs me when I look through it, especially because I really do like Horse, and I wish that Horse had like gotten a bit more development before his untimely neck snapping, uh but I don't know. I liked Horse. Horse was great. I think Sequence 01 gets a pretty solid B. That leaves us with Sequence 2. You know what? I'm sorry, gang. I'm gonna have to take a second and like go onto the YouTube channel and look at Sequence 2. Actually, wait. I don't need to deal with YouTube ads. I have the raw files on my desktop. Give me a second. Videos. Okay, here's videos. Let's see. Sequence 2. Here we go. Brief check-in on chat. How are we doing, chat? Okay, excellent. Seems like everything's going well in chat world. Okay, sequence 02. Oh, hey, hello, Yellow Jacket. Good to see you here. Shout out to everybody, shout out to Yellow Jacket. Can we take a moment? Shout out Yellow Jacket. Thank you, Yellow Jacket. Glad you could make time today.
I definitely appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here. Excellent to have you, Yellow Jacket. Okay. So our next one, sequence out 2. I'm quick looking through this. Oh yeah, this had the parable index, temp access. Okay, and all the little hooded figures. Yeah, I actually had a lot of fun with sequence 2. The one downside is I feel like the dog scenes could have been done a bit better. I like the build up, but I particularly feel like the stabbing scene falls a little bit flat, which is sad to me because I wanted that to be somewhat of an emotional high point, but I don't know. I just did not feel like it came together in the way that I wanted it to. However, I enjoyed the rest of it quite a lot, honestly. So it's getting either a B or an A. I think this is another case of strong B, maybe. Yeah, we'll do strong B. We'll do strong B. Uh, do I regret making Sequence 05? I don't know why I'd regret making Sequence 05, but oh what a mistake. Sequence 05 contains my home address. I wish I'd never released this. No, I liked Sequence 05. I enjoyed making it. But however, this brings us to Sequence 03, which again I'm gonna quick consult uh, what happened in sequence 03. So the hand tries to go into the Citadel, it's blocked. Oh, and we have Angel and Covenant talking. Yeah, this guy had some fun parts. However, I don't feel like it had as much creatively going on. Its ambitions were not as high as sequence 1 and 2. So sequence 3 is getting a C. However, I will say it's like second to top of C. I would put it beneath Painless if we're going like if we're gonna separate out the tiers. I would say this is like a top of C for me, whereas the other two are top of B. Uh, okay, for those of you asking for plushes, I'm sorry guys, I don't think it's gonna happen. I know people want that, and I was actually reached out to by a like official plush making thing a year or so ago, but the idea of these characters being plushes just does not gel with what I with how I feel about the series. That said, you guys have my blessing if you want to make your own plushies. I will not fault you for making plushies, and I love that they have a place in your heart that is important enough that you want a plushie, but it's probably not going to be from me. I'll let you all know if that changes. If I end up, I don't know. If something changes drastically, I'll let you all know. But as of right now, there's no plan to do plushies. Okay. we're going to move on to sequence 04, which I remember a bit better, but I'm still going to quick look through what we're doing here. Okay, sequence 04, I'll tell you, I was frustrated with how the dog scene at the start came out. I feel like the proportions kind of suck, and the leaning forwards doesn't really work. Uh, I filmed my arms and the body separately to try to like make it look a bit more off kilter, but it just ends up looking a bit strange, and I don't like how the Imgur link came out, so that's some points against it. I like the horse bit. The audio, again, fantastic work, please. Thank you to Aisha, and I think Yellow Jacket also did work on this. In fact, I'm almost certain. I remember us talking about this. So thank you to both you two lovely people. I really could not have done the back end of Boisvert without like some truly spectacular audio work. I will say to everybody right now, I am not good with audio. It's really not my strong suit. I would love to be a more musical person. Maybe that's going to be the next project we do. Maybe I'll try to whip up an album and really figure that out. But yeah, those huge shout outs. Let's see the
Possible
rest of the sequence so
collaboration.
far. Come again, please.
A possible collaboration.
A possible collaboration, absolutely. I'm on the same page as you there. I
was
feel like
also
that could be
gonna say,
rewarding.
You're so full of shit. Those vocals that I sampled for Structural Bleed were fucking fantastic. So
Oh, you are too kind. If I did do musical, something more musical, it would definitely be vocal. I really enjoy vocal work, and I think we have another question about that later.
you should.
You
Thank
should
you.
definitely go for more vocal performances.
Well, this is very emboldening to hear. I perhaps I will. I will say, with the release of Ethel Kane released a beautiful album recently. Willoughby Tucker, I'll always love you. That has been having me back on my singing shit like crazy. I've been singing along to like that whole album like day in day out. I'm sure Eel over here is sick of Willoughby Tucker by this point. That is true. You're a Willoughby Tucker supporter. I don't know why I keep trying to malign you against Willoughby Tucker. This is a Willoughby Tucker positive household. Anyways, sequence 04. We have the puppet guy. He gets eaten by the dog. Dog starts eating him. Okay, yeah. I'm remembering this. I quite liked the ending sequence of sequence 4. So I think sequence 4 is gonna go up with its brethren in B tier because I feel like that was a successful project. I liked it, which leaves us with sequence 5, which I am fortunately getting to give an S. I really enjoyed sequence 5, and I feel like the time that I took away from it allowed me to dig into it creatively in a way that I haven't been able to in a long time. It felt like I was working on my older animations in a very positive way, and I felt creatively stimulated. And fortunately, I was worried about this, but I've really not felt like, oh, I need to keep going. I just feel like it was a good place to end things, and it feels appropriate. So very happy with sequence 5, and to extend it out to all of you, very happy with the support and attention that sequence 5 gained. I'm so happy that I have people who care about the projects that I make. Like it feels lovely, and I cannot say how overwhelming the response to sequence 5 has been. So thank you to everybody who's here right now. This has been great. This has been a lovely time. So this is the complete Boisvert project tier list of joy and salience. In fact, let me just quick nab a dirty screenshot of this, and I'm gonna direct people's attention to the mass output channel because that is the place where I'll be posting a few little pictures and videos as the call goes on. Because there's a few things that I have to share, unused assets and the like. Let's see. Here's mass output. Mass output. You will get the Boisvert tier list of joy and salience. So there you guys go. And perfect. That is just uploaded. So that's where that's going to go. I'm going to reopen the registered chat, and we are about ready to move on to the next question. And I will speed things up a bit because I did anticipate that the tier list would take a while, but it did take a while. Okay, the next question is the mask the Quilt God has related to Room's mask / the angel's face? Yes. Next question. is the Saint the same character as the new Squarehead character in Sequence 05? They are inextricably linked, and I will leave it at that. Next question. Some of the interior 11111 videos predate even Sequence 04. How much of your time preparing the finale was spent working on those videos? What was it like putting so much effort into something no one would see, in some cases for well over a year? Did anybody accidentally stumble across one of the public videos, or did you have them all set to private until right before releasing Sequence 05? And if you didn't, was that ever a concern in the back of your mind? Great question. So yes, I did work on all of the interior videos, except for a few of the hidden ones, like more than a year in some cases before Sequence 05. And it was kind of surreal working on something that I knew people would not see for a long time. But I really had a strong desire to make the final project something that really had a lot to give. And so I knew that would just necessarily take time. That said, also I was feeling rather creatively stuck. You know, I feel like a lot of the sequences were and the final Antlers guy video were made in a time where I was really feeling almost creatively bankrupt, and so it was really hard to keep making things, and so making those videos was in a way a relief because I wasn't making anything that I knew people would see right away. So I had this distance and this safety from the immediate demand of something new, from the immediate scrutiny, and I feel like that helped me a lot, just with getting to a point where I could invest more time in something that was going to be a very long, uh, a lot of waiting for the final result. And then as for the people seeing it, oh, and then also patrons, I actually have a like 2-minute video from more than a year ago now. It's at the apartment that I was staying at 2 apartments ago, which should show you how long these videos have been worked on for. It's of how I did that piece of room-shaped skin that stuck to the wall in, I believe, Gutted. It was a lot of fun trying to design that, and I had to buy some roadkill goat leather to make that. So I'll hopefully get that little process video finally edited and shown to you guys shortly. However, originally the videos were all public. I thought it would be fun to have had them public the whole time, and then nobody just found them until this. However, YouTube did its thing, and at least one person stumbled across them and commented, and then a few people dropped likes, and somebody just commented on like remains and said like WTF is this, and I was like, okay, time to shut it down. Yeah, you actually can buy a lot of like ethically sourced dead animal products. Like for example, the dog-headed guy's wolf skull. That is an ethically sourced roadkill coyote skull, which has been a lot of fun to work with as well. So yeah, somebody found the one of the videos, commented, and I just privatized it all at that point and was just kind of done. So yeah, that was definitely a concern because it happened. So yeah, excellent question. Thank you for wondering about that. Next set of questions says, okay, 3 to 4 questions. 1, who's your favorite musician? There's been a lot of back and forth on this. I used to really like Tu Hollis, and for what it's worth, I liked Tu Hollis for like 3 or 4 years. This is the one artist that I will say I liked before he was well known or cool. And I'm only saying this because, wow, he has gotten a bad reputation in the last year or two with everything that's gone on in the concerts. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think he's somebody who's gotten a lot of fame recently and doesn't know how to work with it. I still like his music. He's great. He just is not quite my number one. Excellent. Alexander Panos, beautiful works. Highly recommend listening to. Is it called Becoming? I always forget the actual album's name. The Tu Hollis controversy is just a lot of small stuff, like people getting hurt at concerts because he does a bad job managing the crowds. I mean, me and my boyfriend went to a Tu Hollis concert like a year ago now, and the crowd management left a bit to be desired, and he did only come out for like 3 songs or like 4. Yeah, and we were there for like an hour or 2, which kind of sucked. I don't know. This is kind of petty complaints, but Oh yeah. I am subscribed to Femtonol on SoundCloud. I really love Femtonol's music. I feel like it's super cool. It gets my heart racing. And yeah, I'm a huge fan. If you guys like Femtonol, please go and listen to 1-800-PAIN, specifically Best House on a Bad Block. Please, please, please do yourselves a favor. 1-800-PAIN is one of my favorite artists of all time. Fantastic, fantastic. Then to finally round this out, I love Jane Remover. I feel like Revenge Seekers is like a truly generational album. Fantastic work. And Ethel Cain, of course. Perverts has uh, really heavily influenced me recently, as has Willoughby Tucker. And those are just two artists that I feel very, very strongly about as well. So I feel like that's sort of my, you know what? Give me one moment because oh yeah, Free 99. Huge shout out Free 99. We love Free 99. I'm gonna quick check through my SoundCloud to see what I've. You know what? I will. It's a basic pick. I love Blade. I've been a huge Blade fan for ages. I have like 8 Blade tracks at the top of my likes right now. Which you can see. I believe my SoundCloud is public. Hit up my Nightcore playlist. Run run that shit up. Also Leighton, smaller artist, but love her work. Iliado. Iliado is another great one. Okay, I'm gonna stop just listing artists that I like, but that's oh yeah, Machine Girl's great. I just don't listen to enough Machine Girl. I want to get more into. Oh, one second, we are. Sorry. Um, but yeah, that's I would say that is the extent of my. Yeah, no, I. One moment. All right, sorry. One second. I am going to quickly grab some water. I will be back in about 2 minutes. Thank you.
Everyone say Yellow Jacket.
Yellow Jacket! Woo!
Yellow Jacket.
Yellow Jacket.
All right, hello, we're back. Let's see. I was finishing up the favorite musicians question. I believe I briefly mentioned this, but also Free 99, really fantastic work. Out of those two, I highly recommend checking out Free 99. Love, especially Fuck That. I did some visualizer work for specifically that track, and just that entire album is fantastic. So yes, please, thank you, Aisha. Yes, get that shit in there. Okay, everybody go check out Free 99. My goats. Okay. Next question. Favorite musician? Who is your favorite character to draw, and who's your least favorite? I love this question because I absolutely do have a favorite and a least favorite. Room is really fun to draw. Room has like I don't know. I feel like he was one of the characters that I drew before I ever animated, and I really love illustrating him. He's honestly probably much more fun to illustrate than animate. Honestly, he's kind of a pain to animate. Uh, but yeah, I love Room. Love Room's design. Doghead guy is also pretty fun to draw. Nowhere near as fun as Room. I'm trying to think of who else I actively enjoy drawing. I drew Horse once and liked it. Horse has been fun to draw. Uh, little continue guy version of Room with the quills on the side of his head. He's fun. Um, let's see. Oh yeah. Complex is honestly very fun. I really liked that piece that I did revisiting Complex, and I don't want to create any expectations, but one project that I've considered doing is a concentrated like graphic novel or like comic around the little Complex ghost and the other masked ghost guy that I've only done illustrations of, but nothing set in stone. But I feel like that would be a lot of fun. Um, let me if I have a little picture of the other ghost guy that I'm talking about, I can put it into mass output or something real quick. Let me see if I have that. I'm digging through like 7 windows here to try to get to my desktop. Here we go. Drawings. Do we have? Okay, here's a nice picture of the ghost. Let me put him here so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, I actually am probably going to be doing a lot more comic work in the future. I haven't shared any of this, but I have completed a 72-page little autobiographical comic about me and my boyfriend as like little dog people in an apartment that we live in, which has been a lot of fun. It's been like a side little indulgent side project that I might eventually release for larger viewing. But for now, we're keeping that one on the shelf. Let's see, mass output. And here's a drawing of the ghost guy that I was talking about besides the complex ghost. I really like him, so I might do a comic with him and Complex Ghost sometime in the future. Uh, sorry, every time that I open mass output, I need to get back to the chat and then get back to my questions document. Okay, here we go. All right. Next question is. Least favorite character to draw. I hate to say this, but it might have to be Covenant. Covenant is just. I feel like I can't figure out a good way to draw him that like feels visually satisfying and cohesive. That isn't anything against him. In fact, he's probably one of my favorite to animate. And honestly, I feel like there's a negative correlation between how fun a character is to animate and how fun they are to draw. Because Covenant, very fun and easy to animate, not fun or easy to draw, in my opinion. So he would have to be my pick. I'm not crazy about drawing the gloved angel or the gross mouth angel, Devin, but they're they're fine. I've had fun with them. Um, let's see. Next question is going to be, does Boisvert have strict story boundaries, or is their interpretation up to the viewer? No, there's a correct way to interpret Boisvert, and if you interpret it wrong, you're unfortunately going to get banned from the Discord. I'm sorry, that's just how it's got to be. No, there's no wrong way to interpret Boisvert. Like I don't know, is there a wrong way to interpret like any other like story that you enjoy? I would hope not. I guess if you use it to draw like a hateful conclusion, maybe I would have some issues with that, but I don't even know if I have full control over what you personally are gonna think. Um, let's see. Next question is: do ARG elements in the series have a role in the storyline, or are they just secrets without any deep meaning? I would certainly hope that they have a role in the story. Otherwise, what have I been doing these for? So yeah, I would say yes. Hopefully, they do have a role in the story. Next question is, uh, duh, 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 how did you develop your art style? What creative process did you have to go through to get to the style you have today? Also, is there a reason or meaning to why the world in the videos of the art in your social media is portrayed as black and white. So there's a few questions, but I'll break down how did I develop my art style. I drew a lot, and that was like the main thing that I did for a bunch of years. And I would recommend the same for you if you want to develop your own art style. Do look at a lot of art that you like. Do a lot of studies. Don't be afraid to just gather a lot of works that you enjoy and try to emulate them. Draw from real life. Unfortunately, there really isn't a shortcut as far as I've seen. You just kind of have to draw for a long time. And even now, I feel like there's a lot with my artistic approach that I'm not happy about, and that frustrates me. So it's a process. And then, is there a reason why everything's in black and white? I like black and white. I feel like it's more direct. It's more to the point. When I was younger, I had a very I don't know. I had a notion that life and the world were fundamentally desaturated at some level, and I feel like that informed a lot of the early work, and I just kept with it. I'm a huge fan of it, and I feel like it lets you express composition and space and the silhouettes that things have and how things interact in that way much more deeply when you strip color away. Um, let's see. So we're gonna move on to the next question, which is there significant meaning, symbolism, or mindset put into the world/locations built around the series, such as the forest, parking garage, home, castle? Yes. Next question. If the story that started with Take Care has just ended, what other projects do you have in mind to post to the Boisvert channel? Would you create art surrounding the characters from the drawings you post to Twitter and Instagram? Yes, I would create more art around these characters. They have a special place in my heart. And honestly, maybe there will even be some short video work around them in the future, but I don't think there would ever be another big project like this. And as for the as for the sorry, give me half a second. We're a bit more than an hour deep into the call. I'm losing my train of thought. But there's nothing that a brief sip of water can't help with. As for projects that I have in mind, as I already said, I feel like comic work is probably going to be the next big thing for me. However, I do have another video project in mind that I sort of want to start at least getting assets for in the next month, week, maybe, that I'm excited for. That will not be directly related to the story with Boisvert, but will still be posted to the channel, and I think will be appropriate in its posting there. Next question. Was the project ever meant to be creepy or a horror project, or was it just perceived that way? Any horror was completely accidental. I was trying to uplift people with a message about internal confidence. I don't know. Yeah. I was definitely invested in making something that was at least slightly off-putting. I was joking. I was joking. It was not an accident. I was inspired by horror content, and I feel like that's something that that artistically is still very interesting to me. So yeah, horror was intentional, or at least some elements. It was never super important to me though. I don't know. I feel like uh, I feel like yeah, I should maybe avoid the deadpan humor as much. It's sort of my fallback, but maybe it doesn't come across as well. I've seen a bunch of comments of people saying like, oh, I don't really find the series scary anymore, which is fine because I don't know if that's super the goal as much. I guess with Sequence 5, I did try to put a bit more of the horror spin on it, which was fun, but again, that's never been the selling point in my opinion, really. Maybe with Take Care, I guess, but I'm a different person than I was when I made Take Care. Final question of this set. We are nearing the end of the questions, and I'm going to open up the floor at that point and share a few extra things. This question. So this is a request that I sing a song maybe something like Cradle Song from the Interior channel, that would be kind of cool. So I am not going to sing on the Discord call. However, I have prepared 2 brief little singing samples. One is just me doing a little simple harmony over the first bit of Nettles off of the wonderful Willoughby Tucker album, which I'll put into the mass output. And then another one, which is maybe a bit more interesting to you all, is I found the complete lyrics for the song that I sing in, I believe, ashes.mp4, the, why don't you go where you can see and you can follow. There was an entire other stanza and verse that I had originally but cut, and so the other day I got that out and sang through it in full and did a little harmony work, which again is rough. As I said, I'm not a musically trained person, but I will put that in mass output right now. So let's see, mass output is going to get. Let's see. I'm just gonna quick give this a listen to be sure. Okay, there we go. Here's Nettles, and then also here is the more exciting full version of the Why Don't You Go Where You Can See song that has, again, a little bit of vocal harmonization at the front, and then at the back I just sing the last little lyric bits that I did not add in. Sorry, I'm talking very slowly because again I'm trying to find my way back to the registered channel. Okay, got those posted. Excellent. Let's see, and then you were wondering about the lyrics for Cradle Song. I don't know if I have the lyrics on me. I don't think I wrote down the lyrics for Cradle Song. If I recall, it was just sort of like a one and done. I could go back and listen through it and give a rough lyricization, whatever. But this call's gone on for a while, so I will probably do that after the call if I end up doing that. So we'll move on from that. And the next question is, how do you feel now that you've completed the project? I completely understand why Sequence 5 took as long as it did to produce, since it is far and beyond the most technically and mechanically impressive for the longest runtime on one of your videos yet. Incredible work. Well, first, thank you. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I do genuinely feel good now that I've finished that project. I always have difficulty with the longer projects. Like the last week before finishing Sequence 05, I wasn't really doing anything beyond working on it, which is not very healthy. And it used to be worse when I was working on the older videos, but I feel like fortunately it was not anywhere near as deleterious as past projects, and I felt fulfilled with it. Yes, it took a lot of work, but I'm happy with how that left the final project sitting. And I will say, you guys probably should not expect anything of the scope of Sequence 05 out of me unless I get like $1 million or like much better resources and funding. I will probably never create another Sequence 05 in my life unless I receive a lot more support or like ability or like learn a lot more as an artist. Next question, are you an anime fan? If so, which is your favorite? This is great because there's another anime that I was going to talk about already, which is my favorite, which would be Revolutionary Girl Utena, which is I feel like I've a hard time like doing a little pitch to Utena, but it is phenomenal. It is one of my favorite pieces of art that I've ever watched. I completed a rewatch recently with my boyfriend, and it is so beautifully done and so rewarding for a second watch that I feel like that's rare to see. Just a piece of work that has such such like depth to it that coming back is arguably more rewarding than the first watch. And I love the designs. I love Utena. I love Anthe. Big fan of Toga. Toga's very dramatic. He is an asshole, so I'm not going to overlook that. And I also love Mickey. And to anybody else that I didn't mention, I also like them. They're just not probably my top. I do really like Judy. Actually, I can't not mention Judy. The entire student council is so great, and yeah, just go and watch Utena if you haven't. And I would recommend watching it and then taking like a year off and then rewatching it and then maybe reading about it a little bit and then maybe taking another year and giving it a little third watch. Maybe hitting the fourth watch a few years later. Maybe reading a bit more about it. Big fan of that. Big fan of Utena overall. Um, Next question. Because of the ending of the series, would you give the current YouTube videos a name other than just Boisvert, especially if you're going to be posting other projects from the channel that are distinct from the narrative? No, I don't think so. I'll just keep putting videos there. And yeah, if people are confused, I guess that's like kind of their issue. Um, I feel like I've kind of made the amount of clarification as to how these videos exist that I want to. So yeah, no. Next set of questions. Will any characters from the Boisvert series appear in any of your future projects? Almost certainly, or at the very least, elements of their design. I'm a big fan of a lot of those core characters, and I don't want to abandon them, and nor do I think I even need to. Um, let's see, and then next question: what is the point of the story with the three dogs and the lady with the carpentry hammer? I don't need to tell you that. You can think on that yourself if you're curious. But I will say it feels like a very important part of that sequence, looping back around to it with the benefit of hindsight. And even though I was initially kind of uncertain about its addition, but I feel like with time I felt more certain that it does need to be there. So I would just encourage you to go back and rewatch the video or reread it if you're still uncertain on that. What made Sequence 05 take longer to release, unlike the other sequences? It was really, really long and had a lot of really complex scenes, and I made an entire channel uh, uh, that was linked to it, which did kind of make it take a bit longer to create. So that was the main reason. And also I had like pretty intense burnout for a bit. Um, that necessitated at least a bit of a break. I mentioned that comic that I was working on. That honestly, without that comic, I probably would not have come back and finished Sequence 5, at least with the gusto that I feel like I was able to give it. Next question: will all the characters from the series have official names announced? I believe I did just that earlier in the call, so that's handled. Did you ever expect to grow this big of a fan base for your project, and are you happy with / proud of what the project has become? I from the beginning, no, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd always hoped to have some sort of following for the things that I do, but no, it was not something that I expected. And yes, I am happy with how the project has turned out. Are there things that I would do differently? Absolutely. There are some moments in videos that I look at and still cringe a little bit, that I don't think I did right, or that I don't think I took seriously, or like didn't, there's a billion small things that I would change. But that said, for what it is, I'm very happy with it. And as I said, I feel like the success with Sequence 5 has really given me a lot of peace with the series just as a thing that exists and that is now existing in its wholeness. Next question: will this series have its own video game someday? Similar question to what we saw earlier. Uh, Hopefully there will be some sort of video game that I work on in the future. I don't know though. And if that doesn't naturally come about, so be it. I'm not chomping at the bit to work on a game immediately, but it's something that I'd be very open to in the future. Follow up from the previous question: will we eventually see more out of Tenet and its world? No, you will not. It is. I believe its title is a demo for a game that will never exist, and so unfortunately, Tenet will never exist, and you will not see anything else from it. These are the final 4 questions, I believe. Here we go. This is great. You have talked about your love of Revolutionary Girl Utena in the past. Do you see your work in conversation with the director Ikuhara? In conversation with the director Ikuhara's larger body of work. If so, how? So, I do not want to have the like sickening amount of hubris to try to directly compare myself to Ikuhara. I feel like Ikuhara has made something generational and one of a kind that, like, you know, I don't want to be like, oh, my work in conversation with his. I don't feel as if I've made anything that landmark. However, it's definitely been a huge inspiration for me, and I feel like a lot of the thematic undertones and the way that it handles the topics that it does, the way that it discusses, and the way that it couches its subject matter within its larger story is riveting and hypnotic in a way that I do feel like I've sought to at least emulate in some extent within my project work. And, you know, again, it's very heavy inspiration. And, you know, I can imagine that there's some conversation. I like the confidence out of you, David. Thank you. If nobody's got me, David's got me. But yeah, I would love to be able to make something that can handle its subject matter as gracefully as Utena. And I do feel like, especially with Sequence 5 and the ending, I feel like my rewatch of Utena hangs very, very heavily over my approach to Sequence 05. So I don't know. I'm comfortable with saying that much on it. Was Covenant? Yeah, I'm unfortunately, I'm sorry. I don't know who Hyuna is. There you go. Yeah, but that would be my answer to the Utena question. Always delighted to be able to speak on Utena a little bit. And I would love to do so more if we weren't at you know, like an hour and a half in. But if you haven't, go watch Utena. Utena's amazing. There's nothing like it. It's awesome. Next question. Was Scrumbus ever in or planned to be in the Take Care story? No, I had no inclination. Well, okay. I might have released Take Care before we had Scrumbus, to be quite honest. I'm trying to think back. I would have to do some cross-referencing with my camera roll to see. But no, Scrumbus was not planned to be in Take Care. I've used him and importantly his teeth in a few animation scenes. But no real Scrumbus plans currently. However, I would be glad to share some Scrumbus pictures, which I think I'm just going to put in general because mass output feels like it's more for project-related things. So I'm going to try to open Discord on my phone as well as my laptop and hope that does not break my audio. Please, somebody just let me know if you can no longer hear me. And we're going to pull up some Scrumbus pictures. So here's a lovely picture of Scrumbus that I got from last night. Here I'm holding him in my arms. And then here's another picture of me holding him in my arms. And then here is a picture of Scrumbus sitting on the couch that I'm particularly a fan of. I like how he looks when he's sitting on the couch here. You know what? This is a nice one. I'll pin this. We can pin this to the channel. And you know what? I'll get one more Scrumbus pulled up. I feel like I had a great picture of him recently. I might have shared this with patrons already. These aren't great pictures of him. That's a fine picture. Trying to find a real landmark Scrumbus image to cap this off. I think you know what? I will locate this later. Call's gone on for a while already, but enjoy those 3 recent Scrumbus images. He is doing excellently. He is healthy. His coat is glossy. So it's all going well on the Scrumbus front for anybody who's concerned. I like showcasing my dog like an ancient artifact. I like that. I'm a fan. You know what? Let me actually find this last image of him. I was a big fan of this when I got it. It should be like right around here. This isn't the one that I had in mind, but this is a nice picture of him regardless. Yeah, we'll go with this one. This is fine. Here's a middling Scrumbus pick. I think he looks fine in that. Okay. Um. Oh, Alien Stage. Okay, we'll have to check that out. Okay, next question. This is the second to last question we have. Are there any pieces of media, unlisted videos, images, ciphers, etc., that the community missed? Yeah, I actually do think that there are a few. I was going through the channel a few weeks ago, and I think that there's like one or two Imgur links. I don't think that there's any hidden videos that people missed. There's one or two Imgur links that I don't think anybody saw, and when I checked on them, it said like only 2 views, which would have been mine. Uh, and I checked that the links themselves were working, and they were. So I think that there's a couple Imgur. What am I saying Imgur word? Is it Imager? Imgur? I don't care. I don't particularly like Imgur either. They removed one of the links for Sequence 05 for having tasteful nudity in it, which is lame, which is lame as hell. But thank you to the people who archived that. I saw somebody archived the links in Sequence 5, which I'm glad to see. And I do still have them somewhere on my laptop. Final question from the patrons before we move on to some live questions, and then I'll probably wrap things up around 3 my time. So we'll do 15 minutes of just rapid fire questions before probably being done. Oh, and then I do have something to share with people at the end of this. And then this is the question that I got the other day. What media/works have most inspired you, either aesthetically, story-wise, or in terms of your creative process? I will definitely wrap back around. Utena is amazing, unparalleled, fantastic. That's been a huge inspiration. I say this almost every call, but Off, the French RPG Off, I believe released in 2007, definitely worth a checkout. I think it is a beautiful little encapsulated a project that still like holds its own and stands the test of time. If anything, I feel like it's aged like a fine wine. I love Off. Please go play Off. And also, there's somebody who recently did a lovely spiritual successor to Off. I believe their name is Alton, and it's called Flower. If I had the link on me, I would share it. But there's been a lovely fan game that I was reached out to do some play testing for, and I played through a bit of it, but that was when I was deep in the working on Sequence 05 routine. So. I mean that leads into that question. Somebody just asked, "What is your daily routine? Is there free time for you to play games and just chill?" Honestly, there's not as much as I'd like, and I'm very bad at balancing my work relaxed time. Actually, me and Dear Eel are probably going to go on a hike and maybe even take Scrumbus on a walk after I get off this call, because I've been trying to take more time for myself in the wake of such a big project. And so. Yeah, my routine is kind of wake up and do work, and then go on a run and do more work, and then have dinner. So I'm trying to change that. That is not a very fulfilling way to spend my days. Anyways, as for inspirations, let me just rattle a few off. Blom, spelled blame, oh my god, BLAME exclamation point. Really beautiful manga by what is his name? I usually have this guy on lock because I talk about him a fair bit. I'm a huge Blom fan, and his recently released work, Opossums, is also really well done. Not quite as dark and gritty as Blom, but like equally just very incredible scope and illustration and storytelling. I feel like the storytelling actually really is an improvement from Blom, which was a great work, but just kind of all over the place story wise, which is nothing against it. And he's also working on another manga right now called like Wizard's Tower that I've read the first 3 or 4 chapters of and love. Dorohedoro is another like must read. The anime does not do it justice. If you want to watch the anime, that's fine, but the manga is the lifeblood of it by a long shot. It was like I heard that Kyu Hayashida, the creator of it, spent like 24 years making it, and that comes through in like every panel. Beautiful, beautiful work. Oh, Land of the Lustrous. That is one that I finished recently. That fucked me up. That one is also just so beautiful and like standout. And I honestly don't really even know what to say about it. That would be completely earnest. I feel like that work like broke my heart. Beautiful, beautiful piece of art. I'm trying to think a bit more. I feel like there's been something else recently that I've. Hmm? Oh yeah, Alien 9. Great catch. Alien 9. It only exists as an OVA and manga, and I haven't read the manga yet. So take this with a grain of salt. But the OVA was great. Really bizarre and slow burn almost, which is impressive for something that's just like 4 episodes. I would recommend that. Obviously, Evangelion is amazing, beautiful. Me and my boyfriend just completed a rewatch of that as well. We've been doing a lot of rewatches of the classics, and that one never gets old. I also would recommend the manga for that. Manga ends in a very different way, and I don't quite like how they handled Shinji and Kaoru's relationship as opposed to the anime, but that is a small critique, and I still think that it's very beautifully done. Chainsaw Man is great. Fire Punch is great. And if I come up with any more during the like last 15-minute Q&A, I will literally just blurt them out. Yeah, that's gonna be it on that front for now. I will, as I said, I'll list them out as they come to me. But before I dive into the answering of the yeah, I'm a big anime fan. I love me some anime. Uh, uh, Before I dive into the live question segment, I'm going to share one last little detail that I thought might be fun. Uh, uh, when I was planning Sequence '05, I for a while had a very different ending in mind, and I'll keep it short, but I love Kill la Kill. Yes, Kill la Kill is an all-time favorite of mine. Highly recommend Kill la Kill. Beautiful work. Um, uh, 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 Originally, Sequence '05 was going to have uh, uh, a part or an ending. I'm not quite sure where it was going to fit in because I canned it kind of early into production. But Covenant and the dog character were going to do the hug over the knife, and then they were going to fuse into one entity that was going to be like immensely powerful and do a bunch of I don't know, just a bunch of cool shit basically. And then the door to the house that Covenant had ridden to trap the angels was going to open up, and a simulacrum of room was going to come out, and there was going to be a moment there as well. And while I don't have much of that animated, what I do have is some concepts that I made of the Covenant dog gentleman hybrid. And so I will put those little animation scenes into the mass output right now for anybody who's curious about that. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the best way to post these. I guess I'll just have to go open this up, open up mass output, and then mass output is going to get this, and I'll post that, and then it should get this, and I'll post that. This design was still kind of rough. Like I feel like if I had more time and had really dug into this, I would have. Oh, I actually have watched Sunny Boy. I loved Sunny Boy. Me and Eel watched that this last winter, I believe. But if I'd had more time to work on the Covenant Doghead Guide fusion design, I would have made an origami skull. I was actually playing around with origami skull designs, looking online to see what patterns people had. Um, uh, uh, um, and yeah, I would have loved to have designed like a more in-depth origami head, because I feel like that was a lot of fun working with the dog's head. And I'm trying to think of anything else that was going to happen with that character. I don't know. It was a lot of fun folding those little sharp finger things. I feel like that's something that I haven't done since grade school. Uh, it would have been a really fun design, but I just think that uh, conceptually it was not where the story was going. So it got canned, unfortunately. However, please enjoy the little Covenant dog guy. Now we're going to move to the actual live questions. Thank you to everybody who made it through the patron questions section. I know we had more questions than normal, but I'm honestly glad for that. I would have wanted it this way. I feel like it's kind of nice to have a larger call at the end of the series. And I'm going to scroll a bit up in registered to see what people are saying. So guys, please try to keep comments in registered to questions, or at least relevant comments that I can read and respond to. We'll do about 15, maybe 20 minutes of this, depending on how it goes. Let's see. Question to Eel and or Zrimi. And also, sorry to anybody who I don't scroll up far enough to see your questions. If it's been like 10 minutes and I haven't answered yours, feel free to repost. I'll try to keep up with the chat as best as possible. Oh, for sure. Do you want to hop in first? Okay. So since this is a question to Eel and or Zrimi, I'm handing the helm over to Eel for a moment. All right, get in there.
Oh my god. Okay. Regarding Eel and or Zrimi, does the plot of Boisvert have any parallels to your real lives, be it metaphorical, etc.? I will say that Parker and I are both very private and personal people, and our relationship is one of the most foundational and special things that have happened to us. So yes, all the projects that we work on have parallels to our real lives together. And if you're curious about any of that, you can go engage with the art that we make about it. And aside from that, I don't think any questions about our relationship are super useful. But yeah, I'm gonna hop off now, but I really appreciate everyone everyone showing up for Parker today. And this end of a beautiful era. All right, thank you everyone.
And thank you, Eel. We're back at the helm. Uh, Trying to scroll back up to where that question was at. Here we go. Yeah, honestly, I think Eel has said it best. If you want more answers, look at the art that we make some more. That's I think the most direct that we need to be as people. Next question is, I remember earlier you said there were a few things you'd like to change. What's one thing you wish you could go back and fix / edit? That's a good question. I feel like there's some scenes in the Tell Them video that got a bit lazy in a way that I don't like. I feel like narrowing fell flat in a lot of ways. Just to clarify, so the little complex ghost gets his head exploded by Room, and then he's still kicking around with his head exploded, and that's the weird dude that's being interviewed in narrowing. I saw a ton of confusion on that, which I'm fine with series ambiguity, but when people just straight up don't understand what's supposed to be happening in a very foundational way, I feel like that's somewhat of a problem. So that's something that I'd maybe fix. I obviously Take Care, I think could have been done a bit better, but I don't know if I'd really change much with Take Care. It's fine as is. And then also in the sequences, I wish I'd just let myself rest more, because I think I would have had slightly better products, and I feel like the good ideas in those would have been less drowned out by a few places where I feel like things fall flat. I guess I feel like there's some instances of nudity near the back end of the series that I thought people would be a bit more mature about. And I'm not trying to be like, shame on people because it is the internet. But I think if I could have gone back, I would have played it a bit closer to the chest with that. Because I think it was kind of idealistic of me to be like, this is fine and won't be something that's remarked upon. Not that that's something that I didn't expect at all. Anyways, next question is, do you like Sleep Token? I'm sorry, I've never heard of Sleep Token. Is that a show? Is that a story? Oh, it's a band. Okay, thank you. Okay, I've never listened to Sleep Token, so unfortunately no opinions on Sleep Token. Sorry. Do I understand right that I'm still studying? If yes, what is your major? I actually graduated about a year and a half ago. I am an illustration major with a teaching artist minor, and I've been considering doing grad school, but that probably won't happen for a few years. Uh, any studying or work that occurs is mainly for animations, illustration, just artist work really. So no real studying. Although I think I would. I'm interested in scholasticism as a whole. Like I've been listening to this channel on YouTube called Esoterica that is by this dude who's a professor in occult studies. I don't remember what his exact field is, but those have been super interesting and really make me want to get more into some of the scholastic or like research-based work that I did in art school. Such as it was. I'm not saying that I was super scholarly even in the beginning. Two questions. Could you make one of those Discord server tag thingies for this server? I actually tried to do that, but it seems like we're one boost short. But I would be fine with doing that. And then what's up with the skinny stickman people present in the series? Well, beyond their thematic significance, which is something that I don't think I'm going to speak on, I like the way they look. I think they're dope. I like stickmen. Next question: how does it feel to be where you're at right now comparatively to like the Take Care days? With the attention the series and your art has drawn, any change ethos or mindsets and how you approach fan culture and workload? Great question. Thank you, Vile. I feel like a lot has changed. And to be honest, the series and Boisvert in general actually has much, much, much less attention than it had like 2 years ago or like when Take Care really popped off. And while there's still clearly a group of people that a sizable enough group of people that care about it, the brush with the mainstream that the project had is definitely over. And that's something that I've really become very fine with over the past year and I'm relieved for. My mentality around this project, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It wasn't healthy. While during COVID it was sustainable, it became clear that it wasn't sustainable once COVID started, kind of loosening up. People started hanging out again, and I feel like it really messed up my own personal work-life balance. So I feel much happier with where I am at with my relationship to my art than I ever have been. And that means, though, I'm not making as much and I don't have the same drive that I did, but that's okay for me personally because, to be honest, there were points where I felt like working on the animations was killing me and I didn't feel good. And I it just creates these very parasocial loops very quickly. And so I'm happy or at the very least I'm much happier and I don't regret doing the animations at all, and I'm so glad to have been able to end on a high note. And I feel a lot of gratitude as my primary emotion, to be honest. Next question: what did you think when MatPat covered your work? Great question. He didn't reach out to me at all before making the video, which seemed kind of strange, and I don't know. It was fine. I don't hate MatPat or think that he's evil or anything. I don't really appreciate that he didn't reach out to me and like just sort of barreled ahead. Like I was just in a college course when somebody DM'd me and said MatPat made a video about you, which is like a lot of scrutiny really quickly because he has a huge fan base. And while I appreciated some of that, it just, I don't know. It was fine. I'm not crazy about it. I don't think the video was particularly like well thought out in its conclusions, although I do like the production value he put into it. I think that was cute and fun. That's the extent of my thoughts. Why does the Covenant look the way they do? Because I made them that way. Those deer things on Covenant, what are they? Those would be his antlers. Next question. Can people keep you in the loop regarding projects on their own inspired by your works? Absolutely. Feel free to reach out to me if you've done a work inspired by mine. Just know that my response might not be quick or forthright because, as I've said, I'm trying to live life as a person a bit more in the wake of this series. But I will almost certainly get back to you eventually, and I'm so delighted to see people make things inspired by my work. Honestly, that's one of the coolest things to see. I love that this project can be an inspiration for people to do their own creative things. Does Boisvert know about Tribe 12? I do, and I've watched a bit of it. I feel like the pacing's very slow, but I respect what it did for that genre and like how it laid that groundwork. And I don't know. I actually don't feel confident enough to even talk any smack about Tribe 12. I know that it was very influential for like its time and what it was. But yes, I know about it. What means the end of sequence 05? I'm sorry, I don't quite know what you mean by that. If you post your question maybe worded a bit differently, I'll keep scrolling and maybe get to it shortly. But next question is Boisvert a properly narrative story? And yep, that's one that I answered. Next one. This is a repost just in case. Do you have thoughts about AI scraping of art on the open internet? Curious to hear your feelings. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. If you want to hear me be slightly doomerish for a second, I do feel like it spells the end of the internet. I have not seen a response to AI that is effective enough. I think that it appeals to the worst elements of our society and our larger capitalistic system. I think that it spells the death of so many good things, and I think that it is a medium that is inherently evil, not insofar as that it thinks and acts as an evil entity, but in that I think that only evil outcomes come from AI as how it's used. I hate AI, and I encourage everybody in this call to just not use AI, not support AI. If you see AI, just don't give it attention. Yeah, I hate it. It makes me feel awful to even think about. But thank you for the question. I mean, that's that's facts. Um, let's see. We have a question. Who is Eel? Eel would be my boyfriend of 3 years. And we've gotten engaged recently and have a marriage, hopefully within the next year or two. Obviously planning is a bear, but we're both excited for that. So yes, that would be who Eel is. Also find Eel on Instagram at Eel Infestation. Big fan of that guy's illustration work. Somebody should check that out sometime soon.
I would say
Also,
congratulations for your engagement.
oh, thank you. We're both very thrilled. I we got an engagement. Congratulations. Eel sends his congratulations as well. I was going or Eel sends his thank yous as well. He would be what the fuck am I saying? Have you released your site yet? Okay. I will say nothing on that then. But yeah, check out his Instagram. His work is beautiful, and there's nothing like it out there. Quite genuinely. Next question. Did you ever acknowledge the suicide warning that pops up in Painless? Yeah, this was kind of weird. Painless got mass reported for some reason. I believe it's because there's a scene that pretty closely emulates cutting. And I saw something about this a while ago where like somebody's like parent I think might have like messaged me or left a comment. That just pissed me off. I feel like parental overreach is such a scourge on people's autonomy as kids and like learning shit, and like obviously parents have a place in people's lives, but parental overreach is so rarely positive. That just kind of pissed me off. I don't like that there's a warning there. I don't think there should be a warning there. And yeah, if I had my way, that would not exist. I feel like the censoring of the internet is just another thing that is absolutely killing the internet. I think censorship laws and AI are kind of working hand in hand to make everything scores shittier. Next question. The only thing I will say is that I love everything you do and all the projects you've turned out. Thank you. As I've said, I really love hearing that, and I'm so glad that this is something that has moved any number of you. It still feels surreal. Have I ever seen the stop motion La Casa Lobo, the Wolf House? Yes, I watched this for one of my college courses. Beautiful, beautiful work. So like surreal and sprawling. In fact, I'm gonna. Ela and I we're going to watch Mad God, I believe it's called. If anybody knows that like 2.5 hour long feature length uh, uh, claymation animation, I've been meaning to watch that for a while. Uh, and claymation has definitely been a big inspiration for me, but I can't think of particular works that I can point to. But I will keep thinking on that. Why does Covenant look the way they do? That would be because I designed them that way. Next question is, do any of the characters have canon orientations? They all live in a beautiful, harmonious polycule. Thank you for asking. uh, I don't know. They're all homosexual, probably. That's my headcanon. If a game would ever come to life, would it look similar to I'm Scared, or did you already have a different vision in mind? I don't know, and I feel like I would have to let the game really just be informed by however I was feeling in the moment, or else I wouldn't be able to commit to it. So I don't really know. Have you seen any of Blaze Panda Art's pieces of work in regards to your characters? If so, are you a fan of his works? I have never seen these. I'll copy down his name and put this into my browser to see what this guy has done. Blaze Panda Arts. Oh, he has a little knight in his thing. Uh, this is dope ass work. I'm a fan of this guy. Oh, and here's Knight. Yeah, this is great. No, I'm a fan. I actually think I might have seen this person's work once before. I briefly went on Tumblr for a period just because somebody directed me to some other fan art that somebody had made. But yeah, this is really fantastic. This is great fan art. I love that. Let's see. Okay, so I'm seeing another question of what means the end of sequence 05. I'm sorry if there's another way you could phrase that. I would be happy to answer that. I'm just not quite sure what that means. Yeah, Covenant, not Covenant, dear Lord. The Complex Ghost head got exploded in the end of zoning ordinance, I believe. You can see that happen when Room's eyes do the little flashy thing. Let's see. Zrimi, do you have any characters in the series who you think were perhaps underutilized / any characters you would have wanted to have had more screen time? Yes, Horse should have had more screen time, but Horse was unfortunately a victim of like me being burned out on the series and me knowing where I needed Horse's arc to go and just not having the will to give him really much beyond an introduction and a death sequence. For what it's worth, I feel like Horse played a pretty integral role in like the emotional overtones of those sequences, but he just did not get used enough. Also, honestly, Complex Ghost, I wish I had used him some more and done a bit more live action filming with him because I feel like that came out so well. And also, the puppet guy, I feel like I could have done some more. Honestly, okay, here's another little Boisvert behind the scenes. In the very early stages of planning Sequence 05, there was going to be a long sequence or a long set of events. I feel like I can't really say sequence because that's the names. There's going to be a long set of events where Room would show back up in that white blank area, and he would confront the Devon, the gross mouth angel, and the gross mouth angel would start puppeteering a version of the dead Quillhead guy that had like 5 arms, and there would be like a long battle sequence between Room and that guy that would flash between that and the fight sequence between Doghead guy and the Knight. And eventually Room would get his third arm torn off, and that would make him like agile enough to punch a hole through the puppet guy. And then he would like do I forgot what the plan was at that point. He would like do something to the angel, but I had a very clear vision of like the puppet guy like falling in like ragdoll style from like 50 feet up and just collapsing and then like being drawn up. So yeah, there were definitely there were a lot of plans that just couldn't realistically come to fruition. That would have been cool, but also like I didn't have the time. I'm one person, and so it happened the way it did. Would you say this is the next question? Would you say queerness at all plays a part in the sort of sub narrative of the series? I'm not quite sure how to word this question, but I hope the idea is communicated. Yes, it is. I feel like that's very well worded, and I would say yes, absolutely. Queerness does play a large part of this series, and I feel like, particularly queerness and isolation, I feel like you know they sort of have piggybacked off one another as I've worked through these videos, and if anything, I would hope that that would come across at least fair with some degree of clarity and strength in these more recent works. But yes, I feel like it plays an important role. And I don't know, I feel like that's maybe the extent that I directly say on it, but very good question. And I feel like that's something that's been important throughout the overarching arc. Here's the next question, which is, could you say hello to me from Starvoid? I absolutely can. Hello, Starvoid. I hope you're doing well. And I hope that you're having a nice time in the patron call. Not a question, but what was the thought process for the poetry you used through the series? I mean, that's like kind of a question. The thought process was I was trying to write in a way that oh gosh, well that's a difficult question to answer actually, because I feel like the writing plays so many different roles at different places in the series. So I guess my true answer would be the thought process was incredibly different each time. But I don't know, when I think of like some of the more recent writing, maybe for Zero, it was just trying to condense a feeling and set of ideas into a time-bound space in as many words as possible, or you know, without sparing any thought to like word limit, right? It's just trying to speak directly and quickly and perhaps even frantically, but I feel like that's a part of any attempt to talk in a way that is open in the way that I was gunning for. Next question. Surimi, do you fuck with Gynax / Studio Trigger? Absolutely. My favorite work from them is easily Kill la Kill. I need to watch Gurren Lagann. It is on my watch list. But I fucking love Kill la Kill. Beautiful, beautiful work, great animation, insane designs, really fun plot, just a roller coaster. Next question. Do you have an intended audience when you created Boisvert? No. Is there a new hybrid medium that you'd like to work with? Yes. I would definitely like to keep pushing the video collage forward more, because I really don't see other people trying to do video collage in the way that I'm doing it. And I feel like that shows me that this is something that's unique, that is boundary pushing. Like, I don't know, I see other analog horror creators, like I've a ton of people have DM'd me saying like, have you ever heard of Dr. Nowhere, or like, you know, like Obelisk or whatever, whoever else is the new hotness in analog horror. And it's really cool work. It's very creative, and I have a lot of respect for that, but it just feels like my work has drifted beyond the niche of analog horror, or like whatever horror you'd classify that under. So I'm still very interested in still trying to do this approach and see how deep I can go. And I feel like Sequence 05 was really cool because it did feel like I was pushing into very new ground in that. So I'm gonna probably keep developing that when I come back to videos, whenever that is. Let's see. First, I want to say I'm a big fan of your work, art, video content. You're a huge inspiration. Thank you. Always very, very appreciated. I love to hear it. As for questions, which I have a lot, but I'm trying not to be too greedy, I like that. Is Doghead meant to be a Nephilim? No, but I like that headcanon, and I feel like he draws a lot from the original big-eared Nephilim that I used to draw. That's another thing that I would love to come back to. I'd love to do a comic about the Nephilim, finally. Yeah, you go on to say he looked similar to an old Instagram post, but yes, definitely uh, definitely similar inspiration. Then question, who does the quilt god refer to exactly? This has been like such a bane for me because I've seen everybody call the little quill head guy the quilt god, and I internally cringe a little bit, and that is absolutely something that I would change if I could, because his name isn't the Quilled God. Like that line was not in reference. That line was not there to like give anybody a name. That did not exist to like name a specific character. Uh, and every time I see people calling a character the Quilled God, I cringe a little bit because I don't feel like that's a name that I'd particularly like to give my characters. For what it's worth, I am fine with Dogtooth. Dogtooth is very cute and fun. And I don't even really care that much about people calling the complex Ghost Complex. It is what it is. But Quilled God is one that I just feel like I've never really sanctioned. Lastly, what is Room's connection to Antler Guy? You know, they hang out. Oh yeah, Ascomp, you're an Esoterica fan. I'm unsurprised. Esoterica's work is just phenomenal. I've been knocking down like one or two of his videos every day for the past like week or two now. Yeah, God bless Dr. Justin Sledge. Um, okay, let's see. I believe the dog-headed Nephilim character is part of a separate story. You're right, but similar inspirations. Okay. Zrimi, could you give any words of advice to my close friend? She's going through a hard period of her life at the moment. I'm saying this because I find your art inspirational, and I'm hoping you can cheer her up or something like that. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you have so much faith in me as a person beyond the artist. That's nice. I don't know. I would say we're all people, and a part of that is just experiencing really shitty periods of time. And I know that I've experienced shitty periods of time in which I couldn't conceptualize things being better. But now, I look around and I'm like, okay, I'm living in a period that is much better, that I couldn't conceptualize of, maybe 2, 3 years ago. And it isn't like you have to wait a lot of time for that to happen. It's gradual, and there's things get better and worse. And I don't know, maybe that's like too monkish or like abstract, but I really do feel like that's the only super genuine thing that I can say. Like it's not permanent. Hold close to the connections that you have in your life, because those will be what gets you to a place where you feel like things are okay, where you feel good doing things. And I hope the best for your friend. I hope that she starts to see a general turn up in her fortune. I'm rooting for her. You can tell her that Boisvert is rooting for her if you want. I don't know if that would do much though. Next question: how tall is the complex ghost? 8'4". Thank you for asking. Let's see. Next question. I hope it's okay if I re-ask this. What do you think about people shipping characters in the fandom? I am fine with that. You can make them love whoever you want them to love, and if that's what gets you into the story, if that's what makes you feel engaged, go for it. You have my full blessing. Just like, I don't know, don't do anything harmful or weird, but I don't know, you should be fine. Go for it. Boisvert, what do you think of MatPat's theory on Boisvert for a few years back? I feel like it's very simplistic. Um, and I feel like it it leaves a lot on the table, but I don't think that game theory really, at least in that video, it didn't seem like he was trying to like give a wholesale interpretation. But I don't know. I feel like it probably left a lot to be desired. As I said, I thought the production quality was fun, but not too much beyond that. All right, I'm gonna keep it to 5 more very quick questions because I am very, and it's so cool to see an artist who has so many really interesting and idiosyncratic storytelling and artistic quirks just keep at it until those quirks become a strength of theirs. And I feel like JoJo's has been a huge inspiration for that. Araki's just great. I don't know. I'm a fan of JoJo's. Can we make fan art of the combination dog guy and Covenant? Absolutely. Like go for it. I won't even count that as a question. I'll just give you my permission. Da, da, da. Okay. Boisvert loves AI. Thank you, David. Okay, so this just shows how far behind I have been on the chat. Let's see. I'm gonna go to the I just made it to the marriage congratulations. Thank you, everybody, or to the engagement congratulations. I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you, guys. Oh. Oh, okay. Eel wants me to inform the general populace of the chat that we have recently acquired 2 new baby rats. We used to have 6, but then 2 died of old age, and now that we're back down to 4, we have gotten 2 new babies because you're supposed to get them in groups of 2, and Eel currently has them in a little homemade like a baby bundle strung across his chest, so they get used to his smell. If you want to share a little picture of them in general or the chat, I'm sure people would love to see them. Their names are Flea and Roach, and I'm a big fan of them. They're very cute. They're still very scared because we've only had them for a few days, but they get over it. It'll be all right. We'll figure it all out. Okay, let's see. We still have 3 more questions left, and I'm scrolling. Ooh, this is a great one. Boisvert, who's your favorite Dorohedoro character? That is a fantastic question. Off bat, I fucking love Shin. Shin is so cool. I think his name is Shin. He's the blonde dude with the stitched up arms. God, his design is badass. I don't know. He's awesome. He's incredibly sexy as well. I won't lie. And his sorcery is like insanely cool. I feel like every chapter that Shin's in is just like a tour de force. I also like the like fucked up weird versions of Hole / like Kaiman when he evolves. Kind of spoilers there. Don't worry about it too much if you haven't started the series yet. But yeah, that would probably be my absolute fave. Although I will say I love Ebisu. Big fan of Nikaido as well. And I forgot who Shin's partner was, but oh yes. Noe's amazing. Noe's fantastic. Okay, so we have 2 more questions left. It's fun catching up and seeing the point where we made the polycule comment. It seems like people liked the polycule comment. Yes, they are all gay. Let's see. Come on, guys, give me a question. We got 2 in the tank for us. Oh, is there any news on upcoming projects? Well, unfortunately I don't have any news on upcoming projects yet, but there is going to be some sort of comic work sometime soon, and there's probably going to be a video project in the next few months. I missed Aisha getting off. Well, good night, Aisha, wherever you are. I hope you get excellent sleep. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Question: How did Boisvert come to be? Boisvert came to be because COVID had just begun, and I had been in college for like only a semester at that point, and illustration was feeling unfulfilling, and I was stuck in my house, and I wanted to try something kind of new and like fun. As a kid, I'd always made stop motion videos by taking my parents' camera and moving my toys like a little bit at a time, and then scrolling through the camera really, really quickly to make them move around, which annoyed my parents to no end because it was the family camera. But I always felt like, that sort of way of making things appealed to me and felt like kind of fun and intuitive. So I just did it because I thought it'd be fun and because it seemed like an enjoyable break. And yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it. Okay, that excellent question. We have one more. Uh, um, uh, what do you think of people calling Antlers gay Oriole? See, I don't really know who Oriole would be in the story because Oriole was like, I don't know. I guess interpreting Oriole to be the Antlers guy is fine. I don't have an issue with that, but sort of like the Quilt God, I didn't want that to be referring to a specific character within the series. I feel like it was more of like a direct address spoken to you. Um, but yeah, uh, I totally lost my train of thought. We're very deep into the call at this point. I'm pretty sure I answered the whole question. Uh, I'm fine with them calling any of the characters gay. That's fine. Yes, here are the rats. Love the rats. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up here. Thank you so much to everybody who made it through the call. I know this was a very long one, but it was really enjoyable to be able to hop on here and answer some questions and talk with people. You are all excellent people. Thank you for tuning in for the chat, and I think I'm going to end it on that note. But yeah, stay tuned for any. Oh, and then one final thing. Thank God I remember this. For the people who've been asking about the store, because I've gotten a lot of questions about the store. The store very fortunately sold out like much quicker than any past openings. Uh, and in light of that, actually, I am going to be reopening the store and doing a restock sometime in the next month or so. I need time to send out all of the packages and reorder stock of everything that I have, because I've sold out, and I'm only like maybe like a third or half the way through shipping out all the orders, because the support was just unexpected. But because of this, I am very much going to open up the store again. I will at everybody in the Commandments channel. Once that happens, that's probably going to be the next and maybe last at that channel uses. So be ready for that. We'll definitely have more card decks. We'll probably have more shirts, and we'll almost certainly have more prints. And if anybody has a great idea for like another thing that you'd want me to sell, like I guess let me know. I've some extra props from Boisvert. I actually have a lot of extra props from Boisvert. I have a whole room of them. If people would want those, I could sell those at a premium. Just let me know if there's interest. Anyways, I'm moving back to the goodbye. Thank you everybody who tuned in. Huge thank you before I leave to Eel. We love you, Eel. I love you, Eel. Big thank you to David for handling the moderation. Thank you so much, David. Yellow Jacket and Aisha could not have done the entire latter half of this series without your fantastic work here. And as always, thank you so much to the patrons. This work would not have existed, would not have gotten as far as it did without you guys, without the support. Genuinely, if there's one thing to come away from this with, is just like I am perpetually so surprised with the fantastic support from everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to go on a hike and have some lunch. Have a good day, night, or afternoon, or afternoon. All right, peace.